Welcome to this month's Regen Ag Chat. My name's Liz Jennifer.
And I'm Nick Renison.
So we are here. People like our what have we been up to, but we just need to keep it briefer, perhaps. So, Nick, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I've got three things. I'm going to be brief. It's not really what I've been up to, but I'm loving spring. So when we had a lot of sheep, spring was a blur of going around on the back of a quad bike, seeing things happening, changing, but not really embracing it. And now I am loving the snowdrops. I'm loving the daffodils. Tweety birds are tweeting, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm thinking, as I'm getting older, you don't know how many springs you've got left, so we've got to embrace it. We are going through the hoops of applying for a higher tier. So we're really grateful for that, and got to embrace it. And we're just having lots of chats, kind of arguments, me and Reno, about what we're going to do, or what capital stuff we're going to try and do. And the meeting room bookings are coming in to use that. We've had a meeting today, and I just need to put a bit of energy into driving that forward, really. And we've had a new flock of chickens arrive, and that's what I've been up to. What about you, Lilybeth?
It's quite a lot going on. You're doing a lot of embracing as well.
Well, Renault's he's had like a lingering virus since Christmas, and he's been quite miserable. So I feel I've been soldiering on, dealing with quite a grumpy man. He's kind of coming through it now. He's downstairs actually playing the guitar currently for a bit of self-therapy.
Better.
Feeling better. Yeah. But it's just been a bit frantic. But yeah, it's all good.
I've been also enjoying the occasional rays of sunshine we see in the east. Farm jobs start lambing in a couple of weeks. I've started calving, relatively going okay. So yeah, preparing for less sleep than I'm used to, and that's generally not a lot anyway. And then doing various bits of consultancy stuff, diets, a trip to the North York Moors. Got a trip down to the southwest next week to do some herbal lay meetings. That'll be good. And then I basically don't leave the village for about 3 weeks.
And when you
And then
do
off
these
we go again.
meetings, how are you finding farmers are?
Okay, but there's still, as we've talked about a lot, which is this idea of overwhelm, which I was thinking this the other day because it must be this sort of time that it was Beast from the East.
It is, exactly.
And I just think, I know it's not been the best spring, but actually it could be a hell of a lot worse. So I think it's with a bit of sunshine, mood changes goes quite quickly, doesn't it? But I think most people are really like eking out forage supplies.
And how much is silage with you, a bale?
Most recent prices were sort of up to 50, 60, 70, 80 quid. Depends really, obviously, quality. But yeah, 50, 60 probably.
See, it's not so much over here. I mean, it's nowhere near that. Yeah, yeah.
I think someone, again, this is like, remember the big fish, but someone I think paid 60 quid for a ground bale of hay. I just finished doing a course, as we know I like, on social economy, and one of the people at that ran a community farm, and yeah, their feed bill a week was outrageous because they're on a scale. They don't produce very much of their own, so having to buy it all in. So they were thinking of reducing the number of animals just to try and save feed costs.
God.
But
Yeah,
ever
well,
optimistic. We've been recharged in terms of water. Everyone's confident we'll have loads of hay and silage this year to come. So we'll be fine.
ever the optimist. So we are now going to have our chat with Alan.
Yep.
Alan is a Be the Change farmer. He's about an hour from me in Orton in Cumbria. And thoroughly nice chap.
Very
And
nice.
is doing lots of great stuff. And I hope you enjoy the chat with Alan.
I think the interesting thing about Alan is because he's so nice, it makes us feel like we're even more awful as humans.
I
So
know.
that's I always find interesting with chats with Alan.
I think
We're not
because
terrible.
we're women of a certain age, and I think he's just been brought up to be really nice, and I definitely have not been. I've got quite a lot of my dad in me, which I have to temper.
No, I think we all just need to be a bit more Alan. That's the
Be well.
message. Um, yeah, and the other thing we'd forgotten to mention, I don't think it comes out on the chat, which is he also witnessed the family constellation session of me at last year's Calm Calling. So that I'm sure will forever be burnt in his memory.
Oh, he did. Yes, I forgot all about that. We haven't talked about that with him.
Missed that opportunity. So yeah, so it's just an opportunity to catch up with him and his system, and why he wanted to be involved in the project. Alan's event is at the farm up near Orton on the 24th of June, and we'll be hearing about what he's been up to, which is a range of things, really, which is part of the joy of Be the Change. Anyway, off we go.
Thanks, Alan, for joining Liz and I on this late Monday evening when you've been probably lambing sheep all day. To begin this chat, I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your upbringing and life on your parents' farm as a wee nipper.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, so I grew up on a family farm. Was my dad, my uncle, well, two uncles at one point, and then my grandparents. So I always wanted to farm when I grew up. Yeah, I loved it. My siblings were a bit closer in age, so I sort of spent most of the time with my dad and my granddad doing bits and pieces. Yeah, so family dairy and sheep farm. I grew up there, and then got to sort of 16, 17 and realised that I didn't want to be a farmer. I don't know why, but I did at that time. So yeah, that sort of changed things a bit. But I played a lot of rugby at school and really got into just focusing on playing rugby and sport really. And that took over for a few years more than anything. I never was very that good, but it still took over most of my time and most of my focus. So I could have done better at school. That was just the way it was. Looking back now, I was very lucky. I learned a lot and did a lot with my dad and my granddad. And yeah, it was always really good and really enjoyable. And I'm back into the world of farming using a lot of those skills that you learned at the time that you didn't really realise.
And do you think your mum and dad were just disappointed that you didn't want to farm, or did they say, "Go, Alan, go to university, flee the nest, escape"?
No, it was never. It was neither really. I was never pushed into it, and I was never pushed away. I tried a few other things after sort of sixth form. So I was a joiner for a while, and then just to see if I liked it, and did a few other bits, and then decided that I probably should go away and go to uni. But no, I was never pushed into something or out of something. It was just always there as an option, I guess, if I wanted to. But I've never had any formal agricultural training. Yeah, I just did a generic business degree, so I never had any formal training at all.
And what did you do with your degree?
Not a lot. No, so I did what at the time was called like a sandwich degree. So I had 2 years at uni, a year in industry, and then a year back at uni again to finish off. So in that year, I think I was I applied after the deadline for a big IT company, and they were short of people, so they took me on for a year, and I ended up working down in Reading and sort of between Reading and London for a big IT company for a year, just sort of doing their corporate social responsibility at the time. So they did lots
My
of
word,
volunteering and stuff. So I was part of that team.
different world though.
Definitely a different world, yeah. Yeah.
Did
So
you
I
get
went
used
back.
to Did you get used to lattes in coffee shop?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still a coffee snob. So I actually went back down there. I met my partner at the time when I was there, and I went back down there after I finished uni. So I then worked down in London and Reading for about 3 or 4 years. after uni. So that was great.
So you've got a lot of computer skills that most farmers haven't got.
No, I'm not.
No?
No, I'm not technically very good. Nothing that I worked on was technically like IT. It was all like the business and marketing side. So no, I'm not a computer geek. I'm just quite good at doing the generic basic business stuff.
He was just having a chat with volunteers, being the nice guy. But in all of that time, I'm guessing you were still judging farming, albeit in Reading and London. You were still looking over hedges. Were you still interested? What made you want to go home?
I was definitely still interested. I guess ultimately it never felt. It was really great what I did, especially the year in industry. But you never felt that fulfilled. There was always something sort of missing. I don't know what it was at that time, but there's always something sort of lingering there. But what happened was I got an opportunity to go back to my old university and do a master's. And at that time, my dad also hurt his first time he hurt his knee quite badly. So I ended up going back to uni to do a master's in energy and environmental management because at that point, however it might have happened, I think climate change was starting to be a thing, especially in the world that I was working at that time. So yeah, I decided to do that master's degree and spend a bit more time helping at home. And I think I probably spent more time farming than I did doing my master's, but still passed. Still, yeah, got somewhere with it, and then went back down to sort of the Reading area for a while doing that sort of thing. So in energy and environment for a while.
And did that make you more environmentally aware? Did that change your thoughts on all that kind of stuff, or were you kind of pretty green anyway?
I don't know whether I've ever been green. I would class myself as green, but I think probably being back doing the masters made me realise that things were changing more because we just seem to have like, as we do now, but we have really wet times. It never seemed to stop. So I think at that point I realised that climate was a proper thing and that things were changing. It was just how to get on top of that. But from that point, when I came back, I said to my parents that I wanted to farm. So we were looking for a dairy farm for years. So I must have been, yeah, actively looking for maybe somewhere around 5-10 years. We were looking for a dairy farm, but never really found anything fairly local still. But that was quite right for us. And I was always trying to balance farming and having a real proper job, however you describe it. Trying to do a bit of both, which was great, but also never. I moved back up north at some point in that gap, so I was always doing a bit of both, but still never quite got to a point that I was comfortable and really settled.
So at what stage did you move to back to Cumbria full time?
About 5 years after my masters. Yeah.
And what?
Yeah.
Sorry, what year was that? Not sure why this is important, but
It is for the timeline of Alan's life, which he can't remember.
And I can't tell you. Was it 2016? Like 10 years ago? We actually moved back. Could have been, yeah. It was 2016.
it's important because a lot of that sort of mid-10s. It's like you remember where you were for the Olympics, and you sort of remember where you were for COVID. That bit in between, there's
So yeah,
nothing.
it will have been about 2016 because the Olympics was down south and then COVID was up north.
With a big gap
So
in between.
between that, yeah. So yeah,
Just
on
a little
average,
bit of
2016. That's true. Brexit is quite an important bit in that as well. Okay. But it's as Nick and I talk about this often, which is this idea of this purposefulness or like desire to do something or to farm. And I mean, all of us have been fortunate that we've been brought up in farming families. But I always think it's interesting when first generation people go, all I wanted to do was farm, and that sort of experience. And all of us have time off and then have returned to the farm. So I just think it's always interesting. As you
Yeah, and
said,
I
it
think
just wasn't fulfilling enough. Whatever you were doing just didn't quite float your boat.
no, but I definitely learned a lot, and I think I'm really fortunate to have a really good, strong group of friends that are still. I am really random compared to them, like doing what I do, but we're all still really close, and we all still do things together. And I think they help me in a way to realize that there is things outside of the farming bubble, like a life outside of it, but also that consumers don't necessarily think the same as what we do in agriculture. They have a very different view of food and agriculture. So that's always quite useful to show them things and to understand where they're coming from with things. And they're just different, so it's nice.
Just nice to get away from Cumbria sometimes. Get a bit of
Yeah,
warmth down south.
So just talk us through, because you've got quite a lot going on at the minute in terms of where you're farming different blocks. So just talk us through the various blocks that you're looking after.
yeah. So I guess just going one step back, I think when I was trying to balance a real job and farming, I started applying for a few tenancies, and one of the tenancies um, I applied for, I was very fortunate to get some good feedback, which was that I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. Basically, I wanted to take Nick and Renault's and just replicate it on a different farm, and I wasn't doing any of that at the time. Um, so I think about a few weeks or a month later, I quit that job and found a full-time farming job, and just had to start doing something and doing it. So, um, yeah, I was quite lucky that I went to work for a friend who did a lot of sort of mob grazing, rotational grazing through herbal lays, and slowly built up through that for 18 months or so before I got my first opportunity.
But it was quite cool with the going for that farm that you applied for it absolutely fully. You really went for it, didn't you? And you went down to
Yeah,
quite a lot of detail.
yeah, I
And
think looking back, I probably went a bit too too hard at it, but yeah, I definitely did go for it, definitely.
but you'll have gained in the kind of um timeline. It was probably very much time well spent.
Yeah,
Do you think?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, I think so. And then in that time as well, Mum and Dad bought their own farm about 6 years ago now. It's about 2020. So they'd moved to their own farm, so I was helping out on there as well, but I guess just wanted a bit more as well myself. So um yeah, fortunate to get some good feedback and be able to try and develop my skills. So I think it was Renault actually, Nick, that heard from Mrs. Blue or from her son John to
Mhm.
start with. So the farm that opportunity that I first heard about was a share farming opportunity. Yeah, and that was through Renault, who'd been asked if he knew anyone that might be interested. So I think I was the only one in the end that was going for it. But I was fortunate enough about 18, 19 months ago now to start that, which is quite cool. That's developing all the time. So that is a share farm agreement with um, basically grazing a lot of newly established wood pasture, some fairly traditional hay meadows, and then permanent grasslands. So it's all grassland. Um, it's all, I guess, classed as SDAs, but I think it's fairly kind SDA really. It can and hopefully will be in the future fairly grassy, and fairly well draining some of it on limestone. So the plan there is to outwinter cattle and keep cattle outside all year round, grazing that. Um, since I think just before then, I took on an FBT. Yeah, a few months before that opportunity came about, I took on an FBT to graze some very rough upland, right next door to Kingsdale Head. just a paddock next door to there. So there's a block of land that I plan to graze this year with a few cattle. It's in quite extensive SFI schemes for water quality at the moment.
So just going back to the blues farm, give us an idea of this of the size of it.
I think we started last year with 300 acres, and just about now we're about 500 acres, I think, in total. So it works quite well. The family partnership of the Blues, they manage all of the environmental stewardship schemes that they had that was existing, and they claim the payments for themselves for that, which is quite right. So they manage all of the trees and all of the planting and maintenance of that and the boundaries. So I have nothing to do with that side of things. But as part of the scheme, they don't necessarily need to, but they'd like to have cattle grazing that ground. So I own the cattle that graze that ground, which have to be pedigree native breeds. Belted Galloways weren't my first choice, but they were quite easily accessible in that area, and they do a fairly good job of looking after themselves, which is something that I was quite keen on. So they're sort of mob or amp grazed through that ground. 365 really. So I have no buildings or infrastructure there other than a shipping container with a quad bike in, stuff for storage, and 3 different sites that I'm able to make pens out of. So with a mobile handling unit, so there's nothing else on the site at all, apart from a few solar water systems and bits and pieces like that.
I think hashtag lean farming.
Yeah.
But you've really made it work, because you don't live that close to it, do you? So there's lots of people would kind of maybe come across that land and thought, I can't make this work. I need a shed. I need, it's lacking in infrastructure, but you have made it work, and you are living a distance from there.
Yeah, so I think to take a step back, I was fortunate to go on when Tesco did the Future Farmer program that they had. I was quite fortunate to go on that, and I met a very good friend of mine there who's quite an inspiration, a new entrant, and then so Matt Hill and Carmen Hill, they now manage a big farm in Cheshire with loads of dairy cows, but they sort of new entrants started just with a bit of land and worked their way up from there. And there's other people that sort of the Oglesbys and the Nellises who both run fairly leanish sort of systems and try and focus on production, but also really tightly focusing on their costs. I think I'm trying to just focus on that model, but also realize that a lot of the infrastructure that we have isn't necessarily that urgent if you have the right cows or the right stock to do the job. And I knew when I took it on that there was going to be no buildings there, so I had to have animals that I knew would be able to look after themselves through the winter in particular. And yeah, you're right. So it's about 25 minutes from home, about 40 minutes from my parents' farm. So at the moment during winter on bale grazing, I go there every day. So on average it's about 2 to 2.5 hours a day, including travel. So it's get there, do what I need to do, and go, because I guess I want the cows to be able to just do what they do and look after themselves without compromising their condition too much, and sort of them being able to do their job.
And have you found, because you obviously you mentioned you belted Galloways and you bought them from a couple of different spots, haven't you? So have you seen a range in that their ability to cope, or you're generally really pleased with what they're doing?
Yeah, I'm really pleased with them, but there is definitely genetic variations, as there is with anything. I'm quite fortunate that I was able to buy the farm was in a tenancy before I took it on as a share with the Blues. So I was quite fortunate to buy some of the animals that had been there for a few years, some of the pedigree belties. and I bought quite a lot off Neil. Had some time up at Malham and the dailies just down at Cartmel Fell. So I'm quite fortunate that they've come from sort of nucleus places that have been doing this and keeping animals outside for quite a while. It's not that the animals haven't been used to being outside. It's just a slightly different system, probably being behind wires. But yeah, there are differences. I think because I bought cattle in at different times the first year, we had quite a wide bulling period. My last cow calved in September this year, and those ones that calved late have probably taken a bigger hit than the other ones, which naturally they would have done. But I think now once we get sort of those moved on to slightly better grass with the wean calves and tightened up the bulling period this year, it should all come right, I think, next year.
And so a typical day, Alan, just run me through a typical day in the life of Alan.
It depends what day, because I milk cows about 5 or 6 times a week.
Pick a milking day.
So milk cows, a typical day when we're not lambing is milk cows, go straight to the cows after that, do the cows and then go back to mum and dad's for the afternoon. So that's typically what I try and do most days if I can.
And those cattle now that are there, give us an idea of cost-wise, how are you coping with that for the winter?
So there's 100 head of stock on there at the moment. That ranges from mature cows that are 15 years old this year, going right down to, I think the youngest calf now will be about 5-6 months old. So there's two groups. There's 2 bulls and 2 bullocks, and then the rest are all together this winter, just to see how they perform and just to try and reduce labour. So with they get 2 bales a day, so one sort of haylage and one hay bale that have been out since the summer, and a strip of grass, which is about, on average, it's about 1/3 of an acre per day, just going up a hill. And that'll cost me, it's just under 80 pence a day per head. So for the 2 bales plus my time to get there, so the 2.5 hours on average a day, and the fuel that I use to get there and on site. So it's slightly more at the moment because my solar system isn't quite full enough with water, so I am using a generator to keep the pump running. So that's probably the most expensive thing that I'm doing at the moment. But apart from that, it's just fairly simple and fairly straightforward.
And up there working by yourself, are you able to do everything? I'm just thinking about tagging calves, getting groups in, having a sort out, that kind of thing. Do you cope with that by yourself?
No, I'm very fortunate that I've got a few good people who come and help me. So my mum and dad and my family are pretty good when I need to. I try and not ask them because they've got other things going on. My brother and sister got other things as well. But yeah, like, so Holly Story, James Newhouse, Amy Hughes has made an appearance a few times because she likes cows. So yeah, I'm very fortunate to be able to ask people to come and help. I'm quite confident. I'm hopefully going to put the nose tags in my calves on my own, because I think the system we've got, the cows are pretty used to it now and they're pretty settled. So yeah, that should be fairly straightforward, I think. And they're very good behind a wire now, so they know when I'm there that they're going somewhere. So they do very much want to go wherever I go on the quad bike, which is very handy. Carvings, I've just invested this year in Stuart Mitchell's kindly made myself and a few other people a carving trailer. So that's based on a design of what Jim Logan has, which is in essence 4 handling hurdles on wheels, which is dragged behind the quad bike with a sort of 2-foot gap in the front corner, so you can pull a calf into it and then tag it in relative safety, or jump out if the cow gets in somehow. But the idea being that I'm very conscious that I'm there on my own, pretty much all the time. So just having something which is a little bit safer is quite a good investment. I think this year we got the I got the vet to castrate the bullocks this year. I think it cost about 400 quid, whereas this trailer it'll pay for that within sort of, what would it be? I think 6-7 years. So it will get a lot of use. So it's worth having, just to make sure I'm safer and hopefully just save a bit on that management time.
You mentioned the hill area.
Yeah.
So what's your plans for that? Or what are you up to with that bit?
So it's really peaty. It's got a Yorkshire water source coming off it. It's basically peat and scree and a fairly decent gill coming down it. So that's been put into most of the SFI water quality options. And my plan this year is to take some of my cull cows. So there's quite a few cull cows this year because I tightened the bulling period up so much. So take 6 cows onto that for 6 months this summer, hopefully on collars if we get the FIPL grant. And then they'll go into a vending machine that I'm starting with a few friends and colleagues from sort of all in the Yorkshire Dales. So the plan is to have that vending machine at Courtyard Dairy, where there's already a milk vending machine, and then we can have local meat from the area going straight into a frozen vending machine. We don't know how much we'll sell yet. We don't know how it'll go, but just want to try it and see what happens with it, really.
Such a great idea, especially because it's a collaboration, isn't it? The pressure isn't on you to just keep it stocked. There's a few of you that can work together.
Yeah, and we need to work out what some of that stuff's going to look like, because it's further away for some of us than others, and logistically it's not the easiest for some people. But I think we're all on the same page that we want to try it, and we're lucky enough to get FIPL to pay towards some of it. So if we can make it work, and it's not necessarily about making more from the produce, it's about just helping that produce go to maybe a slightly different market. Like I'm going to be using my cull cows probably more than anything else. Just see how it goes and see what we can make of it.
And then, Alan, I guess you came back from Reading or down south, and then you didn't go to agricultural college. You played rugby up here, I'm thinking. Did you?
Well, no, when I was younger, and tried to when I came back.
I know you've worked quite hard to create a farming network, and Pasture for Life has been quite a big help within that.
Yeah. I'm a member of the Pasture and Profit North, so that's the FIPL funded project that they've had for the last 3 years now. So I've tried to take full advantage of that. I'm a member of Pasture for Life. I'm not sure whether I ever will be a Pasture for Life certified producer, possibly for beef. I'm not sure how far I would go down that route. But in terms of the people and the group that we have, it's been quite instrumental to helping me, I think. Whether that's through the mentoring program or through just seeing how people do things. So being able to see just practically how people are able to produce off and maximize production off grass. But it's nice that it's not very few people, I guess, that we go and see are Pasture for Life producers. It's just about balancing grass-based with whatever else they need to do. That's been really sort of instrumental in helping me through the last few years, as well as probably the Northumbria grazing group that I'm a part of. So going to the northeast to see what those guys are doing and how to do things in their nice sunny dry world.
And in the nicest possible way, you are renowned for going to stuff. You go to loads of things, don't you, to sort of see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm not quite as what's the best way to describe it?
Prolific.
I'm starting to prioritize things that I think maybe are slightly more relevant to what I'm trying to achieve now. But I've been really lucky that I've been able to go to a lot of things and learn a lot. But I guess as you go through the journey and get more of your own cattle and more of your own responsibilities, you do have to try and manage what you can do. So yeah, I definitely have been quite prolific in getting out there and seeing what's happening. It's just now making sort of choices that I know are going to benefit the next steps and what I do. As well as wanting to see people and friends that I've made along the way.
And is there one particular meeting that stands out that it was just a phenomenal meeting?
You don't have to mention Carbon Calling Conference, but if it comes into the conversation, please feel free.
No, I was thinking of a farm somewhere, Liz, like somewhere.
Obviously, I needed a bit of an ego boost. I apologise. Carry on.
Obviously, I think Carbon Calling's been great. I do really value having something quite local rather than travelling down to Groundswell. But I wouldn't say there's anything in particular like one farm, but I've probably just taken inspiration from quite a few different places. So obviously there's you guys, Nick, who have been doing something a bit more local.
Not fishing.
I know you're after that.
I'm thinking of somewhere up in Scotland or somewhere that you've driven, like, because you do put the effort in to jump in a car, probably after you've milked in the morning, and drive 2 or 3 hours to a random farm, probably on a pissy wet day.
Yeah, I guess there's two things there. I'm very fortunate that the guys that I milk for are friends. So if I do need to have an afternoon where I don't milk, they're very good at being able to work that around for me, and I'll try and make it up at another time when I can for them. And I like to think that I've built a system that means that I can plan if I'm not there for an extra day with the cows. So I will give them a bigger break, or I will give them extra bales one day if I feel like I want to go and do something that's valuable. I think going to there's all sorts, but yeah, I spent a bit of time in Scotland because of some bigger places on scale up there. I think the northeast has got some really impressive sort of operators. Yeah, I get inspiration from, like I said, from Matt and Carmen down in Cheshire. What they've done, new entrants again. Their new entrants from Jen and Rich Oglesby, their new entrants, and seeing how they're trying to run a system. As always, the Nellises who pop up at everywhere on everyone's list. But probably Matt Griffin as well, and sort of the Mitchells. There's a lot of people that have been very open and very helpful along the way as well. I probably went really hardcore, like I want to be regenerative and not use anything like feed or any supplements for a while. And I think maybe a lot of people have made me realise that it's great to try and want to get somewhere, but it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be the be all and end all. There's probably more of a balance in the middle. And I've probably come away from that slightly over cost control more than anything.
Yeah.
Ranching for profit was probably a big one during the Roots to Resilience last year, because that's a really, obviously, really gets into the detail of your finances, but in a way which you probably haven't really seen before. So that's been really helpful for me to try and understand my costs and how I analyze what I'm doing. Because I think I'm at a point now where whether I have, say, 50 mature cows or 150, my day-to-day costs probably wouldn't change that much, which is the beauty of it. It's just making sure I have enough grass for the winter more than anything.
And I suppose the reason why we're also talking to you, obviously, because other than you're a very nice fella, also that you're one of the Be the Change farmers. In the again, the nicest possible why. Why the hell did you apply?
I don't know.
Alan, you're not meant to say that in such serious way.
I think, like you've both mentioned, I've been quite prolific in going to visit others and see what. But I think what Be the Change, or what I hoped it when it is, but what I hope it would enable me to do at the start was to start bringing some of that into slightly more focus on the share farm in particular. So everything went great last summer, and yeah, I sort of managed grass fairly well. But I think there's always I'm quite keen on my sport and quite keen on cycling. sort of looking at the Sky team and how they would always marginal gains and always trying to add on top of like what they were doing. And I think probably I thought that, well, I do think that Be the Change gives them that next step up in terms of having a more resilient business, being able to focus on hopefully producing a bit more grass in the future, and how I do that in a way which doesn't add lots of inputs to the system, as well as looking at maybe the slightly more out of the box things like more fungal activity that I've never really looked at sort of that within soil before. I really have appreciated the importance of soil, but soil health and actual soil analysis isn't my strong point. So how I can build that into what I do on a daily basis, and hopefully just have more people who are open to guiding and look at the business in a slightly different light.
And quite early on, we sort of identified 4 areas as we have done for all of the farmers, really, which is one is about resilient business. This is idea of looking at your figures, using Matt and Angus and others to sort of really drill down in terms of where's the risk in your business to a degree, where's your investment, all of those things. So again, taking it to that next level, isn't it? A bit about soil function you've talked about. So Daniel and Regenis, and also so that's soil food web stuff, and then also full nutrient analysis. And then with sort of the next stage on now is that sort of holistic grazing plan, isn't it? Or an equivalent type, to really understand how to make your, well, not grass work harder, but you've already got quite a lot of records, and what does this year look like, I suppose. So that's stage. And then we're doing quite a lot on biodiversity. So Mrs. Blue, so the owner of the land, has done a lot of work in the past. And so it's trying to pull together all of the different bits that have happened before, and then maybe using drones or like bringing in new tech to see what else that does. And then this idea of actually partly for the family, part for yourself, but actually what does the future look like is also part of what we're going to look at. So it covers a range of things, but quite strategic, isn't it? It's like the analogy I want to use is the balcony versus the dance floor. This is a new phrase. Oh, it's not. I learnt it in a course years ago, but it's been re-educated to me. So we're on the balcony looking down on the dance floor. If we're on the dance floor, we're like amongst it. We're sometimes too busy, so we're on the balcony viewing.
Okay,
All right.
like in and on the business.
I might edit that bit out, but we're in the balcony, not on the dance floor. That's what we're trying to say.
That's the kind of thing that. Did you have Dallas for your routes to resilience?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't he amazing?
Amazing, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you have him, Liz? Yeah, that's the kind of thing he would say.
That's the hope of Be the Change was, now we didn't know that at the time, but this, as you say, some time to reflect is what appears to be important.
Yeah, and I'm very conscious that, and I'm very fortunate that I've been given an opportunity by the Blues, but also very conscious that in the next, say, 7-8 years, a lot of the environmental infrastructure and environmental support that is being provided at the moment will not be there. So it's how do we take the business forward so that if I'm there in 8 years, I don't have an agreement for that long, but if I'm still there, how do we both get enough of a return to make it worthwhile? So I guess that's cow numbers and inputs and how we manage things going forward to get to that point. So I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but I'm just always very conscious that there is an end point at the moment to schemes. There might be something else by then, but if not, how can we make a resilient business that's suitable for both of us, really?
It's becoming a common question, isn't it? Which is the environment schemes, especially as subsidies disappeared, have buffered quite a lot of systems, and it's suggesting that there might not be public funds, but there might be some private funds out there. So there'll be something out there, but it will just be a more complicated way of doing it, perhaps.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that I have a herd that can sustain itself, but also provide some income to both parties, as well as hopefully still doing what it's doing by the ultimate game, I guess, at working with nature as well, if we can. So I think what I've found really interesting over the last year and a half of exploring the system and some of the feedback I've got off others. Like I said, I'm quite interested in sport. So I listened to something the other day about Roger Federer, who obviously was a fairly decent tennis player, and he won about 80% of his matches. But of the points within those matches, he won 54%. So actually, there's a very fine margin between like failure and very good success. And it's sort of stuck with me a little bit because we're quite scared sometimes, I think, or quite apprehensive to try something or to be able to actually just attempt to see if something works. But if I just dwelled on that and those opinions or on that, and then if something didn't work myself, I probably wouldn't be doing it now how I am. Because yeah, the margins between success and failure are like what, 4, 5, 6% maybe overall. Going from 54 to 48% winning, that means you probably lost most of your games. So yeah, those kind of things stick with me quite a lot, and get me thinking a bit sometimes.
I did forget to ask you earlier, which was there was a point where, you've got a huge background in farming, so you work with your dad and your granddad and all of those. But what was interesting is you had to go and work and do different practices, like how you had to like relearn how to farm. I thought that was quite interesting that you spent some time, sort of almost like an apprentice again.
Yeah, I guess so. I think I just realised that I wanted to go down a grass-based system, and um, yeah, mum and dad are really good at what they do, but sort of grass-based rotational grazing isn't something that they want to do, what they're interested in. So if I was going to learn that and understand it, I had to go and do it somewhere else. And yeah, I'm very fortunate that I was able to do that really and get my head around it.
But what you're good at, Alan, is saying when you didn't get the tenancy, it's going back when sometimes what you could have had the opinion, well, they don't want me, balls to them. You go and ask for feedback, you take that
Yeah.
feedback and you run with it.
Yeah, I was very fortunate at that point that I was working, it was a National Trust farm, and I was working through the National Trust for another organisation. So I knew a few of the guys in the team quite well. So I guess I was quite fortunate when I asked for feedback, I got face-to-face interaction and was able to actually be like, right, what is it? What do I need to work on? And they were great at being open and saying you need to go and do what you're saying, what you want to do. Um, and I guess I'm always open to opportunities. So yeah, the Blues is sort of 25 minutes away from home. But now, if there's another bit of land that comes up within the M6 corridor between there and sort of Raisbeck, there's no harm me dropping off into another site for half the day, then going up to the cows or something like, or moving the cows if it got to that point. There's always options, and I think being open to options is quite a good place to be at this stage in agriculture when things are changing and people are adapting.
The word that's been used a lot is fortunate. That belief, isn't it, that you've been fortunate to
Yeah,
get where you are. Some of it is, but as you say, it's because you're open, you put yourself out there, you you engage with lots of different people. But it's, I suppose, and part of that is that it's a mindset piece, isn't it? Which is you're going into the world with positivity. So hopefully what's coming back is positivity. It's just quite an
sometimes.
interesting, rather than as Nick said, which is some people go in thinking, woe betide me, nothing's working. But actually, all you've got, back to the Roger Federer thing, it's only got to be working 54% of the time, and it's still a success.
Yeah,
But
as long as
we
you,
get
yeah.
ourselves into the headspace that it needs to be right all of the time.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think you don't really learn when it's going well, do you? You only
Yeah,
learn when it goes wrong.
that's definitely true. But Alan,
I can
you've
do.
got a very learny mentality.
I never
And
did. I never did at school.
but you must have done when you went to uni and stuff.
Maybe I did without really. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just taking opportunities. I wasn't. I loved school, but I also loved playing rugby, and that's pretty much what school was for me. So I didn't do that well, but uni was okay. I planned myself a bit better at uni. But I think it's just practically seeing it. It's actually like I like to learn from seeing things and seeing probably what's possible. And like I said, I've got some good friends and mentors who are quite open to showing me that. But yeah, it's seeing things working, I think, which is quite important to me.
Lots of people are scared to try new things. I think one of the biggest barriers is, what if it goes wrong? Like,
Yeah. But I've also built a system that I can do that, and a lot of people are tied or unable to leave a family
yeah,
farm
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever else. Like, I guess I
yeah,
specifically try to make it so that I can adapt it slightly and
yeah.
give myself those opportunities.
We've got an event at yours, Liz. I don't know the date off the top of my head.
24th of June. Why you can't look at your diary? I don't know.
Because I tell you why. Because I'm in my bedroom balancing on an ironing board. That's why.
The glamour. So glamorous.
So 24th of June. So that'll be a chance where we can see Alan's grazing. There'll be some people there that we've been working with. Hopefully have some of Alan's burgers.
That'd be good.
Hopefully.
So yeah, the Regenus trial will have some info. I think, and the other thing I suppose we've got to be clear from an event is this is an update. This isn't everything finishes by June. So what will be interesting is just to see how far we've got with some of these ideas. And the main part of this is how do we bring a network of people to support and bring in different ideas? That's what we're trying to achieve. So the event is part of that, isn't it? Just bringing lots of people together to share what we've been up to and what we could do.
And what you've achieved in such a short time, Alan, is pretty amazing stuff.
Thank you. I think I'm very fortunate to have a lot of people who've helped me, and being very open with the time and with their effort to, whether it's me pestering them on the phone or coming to see what I'm doing. I do feel very fortunate to have a lot of people who've taken that time to help, whether that was right at the start, giving me share farm agreements or coming to check cows because I'm always worried what condition they're in. Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have had that, and it'd be exciting to see where we can get to, I guess, over the next few years.
And I suppose that there's been a slight tweak, hasn't there, in terms of you might be bringing in an Angus bull this year just to tweak it slightly.
Yeah, possibly. I think the challenge with a belted Galloway or any native breeder to a certain extent, and it's down to the genetics are very variable, but they can take quite a long time to finish. I do have to have pedigree native breeding stock, but they don't. All the offspring don't have to necessarily be native or pure breed native. So the thought is to bring a grass-based Angus bull, perhaps put that over the worst end of the cows, and then have a slightly more marketable animal, a weaned animal at the end of it. So it's a potential. I'm not sure where it goes. The first purebred Belty was butchered by the guys at T-Base Services this last week, and it came out really well. So if we can try and replicate that and maybe have some Angus influence to help them finish a bit quicker for their system, then it might work really well. Don't know yet, but it's just about adding value without it necessarily complicating the system too much. I don't want the simplicity of the system to hamper production, but I also don't want to go too far down a production route that hampers the simplicity. It's just about trying to find a middle ground that's efficient and helps the blues get what they want out of it, but also provides a decent saleable product at the end as well.
Interesting. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
No worries.
That was a very long sentence you said at the end, which was it's very good.
Oh, thanks.